You guys know what people aren't watching? Doctor Who.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I don't want to talk about Doctor Who.
Apparently, Doctor
Who
Who.
cares?
Who gives a shit?
Apparently,
I-
Doctor Who is on the chopping block.
I have a question really quick, though, real quick. I want to know if anybody has a chart or something is keeping track of all the celebrities that said they were going to move out and haven't yet.
Oh,
we really need to start putting some pressure on them.
Yeah,
you know, and we should also do the same thing with people who went to that other thing and they're coming back.
Blue Sky, and now they're back. Because Blue Sky sucks.
Well,
and they're tired of talking to the same 4 people.
One celebrity who supposedly is definitely leaving is Ncuti Gatwa.
This fucking guy, I swear to God.
The current Doctor Who. Apparently, rumors have been flying that he's worried that Doctor Who is actually hurting his career because of the low ratings.
Oh yeah,
he has
Doctor Who is hurting his career.
he has a lot of potential work for him in LA. He wants to move from the UK to LA to pursue other projects, and supposedly he's already shot his regeneration scene, and so like he has one foot out the door. But in addition to that, apparently Disney isn't happy with the ratings that the Doctor Who seasons that they've been financing have been getting. A lot of people are saying that Russel T. Davies has been more more focused on propaganda than he has on good storytelling, and that's been hurting the ratings. But according to Russel T. Davies, they're like, hey, young people are tuning in droves. But an insider basically said like that, you know, you can have as many young people who don't spend money as you want watching your stuff, but that doesn't equate to good ratings, and therefore it's a very good possibility that Doctor Who in its current incarnation is not going to get renewed. In fact, there's talk that the BBC may shelve it for 5 years and then come back to it because they don't want to be spending the money on a sinking ship. But of course, we have some conflicting information here from Gizmodo, which basically says that, okay, like, even though there are rumors flying around that Doctor Who is going to be getting canceled, there's no official announcement. They're going to wait until after season 2 of the Disney Plus stuff finishes before they make a decision on whether or not to go forward with it. So apparently, like, you know, all these rumors are flying around, but apparently the rumors are quote unquote not true. But Brian, I know that you know, you're a big Doctor Who guy, science fiction guy in general. And what's your take on this?
God, that guy sucks so bad. Like he is. Look, Zendaya is bad.
Oh my God.
Right?
Would she make the show better?
Like she's mid, but Zendaya would make that show better. Yes. Like if you removed him and had Doctor Who regenerate into Zendaya, people would actually breathe a sigh of relief. He is so horrible. He's like a power bottom turned Doctor Who. I'm so tired of this guy. I'm tired of his look. I'm tired of the way he talks. He's the worst thing to happen to this franchise. It's crazy. I remember complaining about the femme Doctor Who, like there's a lot of woke. Yeah, thank you. A lot of woke stuff in here. A lot of woke ideology. Now I'm that compare this Doctor Who compared to femme Doctor Who. Femme Doctor Who is better. Like I miss femme Doctor Who somehow. This hyper gay, super power bottom, cum guzzler Doctor Who is the worst. I'm so over it. I can't wait for it to end. And I hope that when it ends, they take like 3 years off.
Just 3?
Yeah, they need to take at least 3 years off. Take 3 years off, like rethink the whole process, and then come back strong with a proper Doctor Who. And I don't care if what color the Doctor Who is. All I care is that the actor knows how to act and isn't flaming homosexual.
Take these franchises need to take like 10 years off. Allow people to like grow out of, because like that's one of the things I think that we get caught up in is like they'll take like 2 or 3 years and then they'll redo it. It's like, but all those people are still like invested into what the story was. Take a decade off from it. Let people who like kind of grew up with it like age out and like either die or you know just kind of forget about it, and then allow a new generation to sort of come in and maybe enjoy it, because at that point you've detached yourself from it emotionally and mentally, and then you know what I mean, because like I think they should more often than not end series completely, like just end them, end the arc, be done, And then if you need to reboot it later on, like detach it from what it was. You could loosely associate it with it, like be creative. Think of something that, I don't know Doctor Who at all. I unfortunately I'm the worst person to talk to about this, but in general, franchises should embrace this. Take several years off, 5 to 10 years, allow people to disconnect from it and then start anew. It's something that we're obsessed, or that Hollywood's obsessed with, is just like, keep this train rolling, keep milking that thing,
Right. Yeah, they gotta keep momentum. That's what they think, but what they're doing is they're crashing into brick walls and they're trying to keep driving this broken car. It doesn't work.
People get fatigued too. Like they're just like, oh my god, I've had enough of this. Like next, So
if I never had to watch another Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, whatever show in my life, I would be okay with that.
It's crazy how these things that I grew up being such a fanatic of, like I would go to conventions, buy all the comic books, buy all the novels, every figurine. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I was a massive Trek head. When I got introduced to Doctor Who, dude, that's all I can watch was Doctor Who. Loved it. And then now I literally don't care. It's not even hate anymore. It's just apathy. When I see a Doctor Who poster or something new, I just scroll past it. It's not interesting to me anymore. You've completely lost me.
They need to shelve these things and just start, making shows and movies about some of the stuff out there that we haven't seen yet or haven't heard of. It's like Mr. Kadish sitting here next to me has a whole series of books that he's written would be a great animated show, or even a cool,
I agree,
a cool live action show. And there's all kinds of authors and books and series out there that are in the same boat. They're just being ignored because these studios, all they want to do is fucking rehash old shit that they think are money cash cows, and they're not, because they're ruining them when they redo them. And it's just, it's crazy to me. So
it's because they're injecting their own ideology into it. They think that, this franchise is too big to fail. Now we can start grooming the next generation to like what we like. And what happens is they learn pretty quickly, or not pretty. They learn pretty slowly that every franchise can fail and nothing is too big. And look at every franchise is just crashing and burning.
And for no other reason too, you could also maybe inject some value into these series, like by ending them, by saying this is done. Then the stuff that like came out, merchandise and all that stuff, and those characters become they hold some value. Now it's just like, well, we're just going to run this thing in the ground until nobody cares and no one wants to buy the toys. Or
Shagworth, look at Firefly, Supernatural. Like, these things ended. There's still conventions every year.
Yep.
I run a t-shirt site. That's my day job. I still sell Supernatural and Firefly shirts every day.
Yep.
And that Supernatural, Firefly had one season years and years and years ago. Yeah. It ended, and people are still hyper fanatics for this. Imagine if they just kept going until people were like, you know what? I don't really give a crap about this anymore.
Yeah. You got some covered wagons on the t-shirt and says Firefly on the front of them or something?
I have the one that says keep flying, and it has I know you don't like Firefly. It doesn't matter. Bottom line is the franchise ended before it killed itself. Supernatural went a little long, but it's still there you go. Beautiful.
Dutch has a problem with horses in space, but I want to throw this to Odin real quick. Odin, there's this really interesting paragraph in this article I'm going to read. It says the BBC had insisted that the overnights and 7-day figures were not conclusive for Doctor Who. Its spokeswoman said overnights no longer provide an accurate picture of all those who watch drama in an on-demand world. Additionally, the rep noted that this season of Doctor Who premiered on iPlayer, have no idea what that is, nearly 24 hours before the broadcast, which significantly affected the overnight figures. However, the industry source was not convinced, saying they can talk all they like about young viewers, but they're still down from the specials and down from the Jodie Whittaker series. I imagine serious conversations are happening. Disney will want to see results. So I want to ask you, Odin, obviously they have like some internal numbers that they're looking at, and they're saying like, it's not as bad as people are making it out to be because we did some things that kind of screwed up the overnight Nielsen ratings or whatever the case may be. And you and I have had conversations particularly about like how do you determine what a success is on a streaming platform nowadays? But with Disney Plus, like they know the numbers too, and they know how much they're spending. And if Disney Plus is like, well, we're not seeing a return on investment here, so we're not going to go further than what we've already committed to, I think that says a lot about what the ratings for this show actually are. So do you want to comment on like how they're determining these numbers for Doctor Who's cancellation?
Yeah, I mean, it's all crap. I mean, the way that all these streamers try to, formulate views and how they try to calculate these things, it drives me nuts because it's just so convoluted. And it's clear that they know exactly what's going on. They have the inside data and know how many individual persons are subscribing to their channel to watch X material, right? They have that information. But they're never going to release it because they know that the numbers aren't that great. So they have to create a metric that makes it look good so they can sell it, right? That's all that it's about, is trying to sell it to advertisers, trying to sell it to their stockholders, to keep confidence high. And so over time, there comes a problem, though, where people start to, kind of have this general mindset, this general view that, hey, wait a minute, you can keep on trying to claim these numbers or try to claim things are better than you think that they are, but the reality is just not panning out. And we know this just from our own experience. Like, I can speak as someone who was a huge fan of the original reboot of the series back in, was it 2005, when it was Eccleston started off the series after it had been on hiatus for a time. And so really enjoyed that, enjoyed the David Tennant years, the Matt Smith years, and then to a point, right, the Peter Capaldi years as well, right, that kind of went downhill over time, but eventually got to the point where I just gave up even on the Peter Capaldi years because it just wasn't as good anymore. And then when all the announcements started coming about Jodie Whittaker, and now, of course, it's gone on, even crazier than that, it made me say, okay, I have no interest in ever coming back to the series ever again. Like, they've completely lost me as a fan. And there are too many of us who have just dropped the series altogether, who have not watched any of the Jodie Whittaker years, who have fallen off, everything. And even my wife, who is also a big fan of Doctor Who, even though she has a very different mindset than I do. She has no problems with a female doctor. She has no problems with like some of the choices that they've made. She's just, again, a very different personality. She has still not gone out of her way to actually watch those either. So clearly they're losing just even the normie persons too. And so they can keep claiming these things, but if we just look and see and talk to the people, real people around us, it's clear that barely anyone's watching this in comparison to what it used to be.
Tom, do you know if there are any truth to the rumors that Doctor Who's getting canceled? Tom Connors.
He did mention that he did not care about Doctor Who, so he may have taken that as an opportunity to get more cereal.
Could be.
Yeah.
Well, Dutch, no one hates Doctor Who more than you do.
I don't hate Doctor Who.
Or doesn't care about Doctor Who as much as you do. One of the big criticisms about the latest Doctor Who has been that basically it's been injected with too much wokeness. Like, you have a black gay doctor, you have a female doctor. They've gone back and retconned, the doctor's origin story. They now have like a trans person who's as powerful as a god and all this other stuff. Do you think that one of the reasons that the ratings are suffering is because people are just tired of these crazy messaging?
Well, of course,
that's incorporated into their beloved friend. Like, you can't sit down with your family and watch this stuff with these types of political messages going on.
No, and I think people are sick of all this crap, and that's why the show's probably on its way to getting canceled, because nobody's watching it. There's not enough of these freaks and weirdos and mentally disturbed people out there to keep these kind of things alive. And how they've gotten themselves so entrenched into the showrunners and the writers and all this kind of stuff to keep these things going is absolutely beyond me. I don't understand it, how we've let in such a small fraction of our world become such a massive dominant voice in our society. It's crazy to me, and I think we're starting to see the backlash now. I mean, that's why Trump is going crazy and doing all these things from the White House. It's and there's other countries around the world that are doing the same thing. Vance had to go over there a couple of weeks ago and chew out all of Europe because they're letting all this social justice bullshit infect the fabrics of their societies and their countries over there. It's wild to me. And
it's cultural death.
Yeah, and this is just another symptom of all of that, and it's just it's crazy. You know, we're in a war here. We're in a society battle of culture, and you know we're going to end up winning in the end. But man, this is just the kind of stuff that just gets beaten up and destroyed along the way, and it's sad because you know I've never been a Doctor Who guy, and it's just and the only reason is because I was just never exposed to Doctor Who when I was a kid. You know, the British stuff was on PBS. I never watched that shit. You know, after I was 3 years old when I got done watching Sesame Street. So you know, they always show stuff like Blackadder and Red Dwarf and Doctor Who, and all that was all on that weird public broadcasting station. I didn't watch any of that stuff. So I've never been into Doctor Who, and I never really bothered to get into it when it had its resurgence here either. So I just didn't see a point in it, but I understand that it's a hugely popular thing, and I feel bad for the fans of it because they've just destroyed it with all this woke garbage nonsense. And I think it's kind of funny that this actor is like starting to figure out, it's like, maybe I shouldn't have attached myself to this piece of crap, even though he's he checks every single checkbox that they look for. So maybe even some of those people are starting to figure out that maybe we need to just shut up and act, you know, to a certain extent. I don't know.
Oh, look at Reacher, bro. You know, that for those first 2 seasons, everyone loved it. Everyone loved Reacher the first 2 seasons. And now it's just getting hyper woke. The second the guy opens his dumb jock mouth and starts talking about Guatemalan abortions or whatever, you know, the entire show falls off. Yeah. I watched it yesterday, and at one point he literally says Black Lives Matter in the series. It's like I've never seen a series fail so quickly. But at least we're not going to get 7 more seasons of this garbage.
Yeah. It's funny. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I don't know if any of you have ever read the Reacher novels, but they're fucking great.
Yeah,
and this guy, well, first of all, he looks more like Reacher than Tom Cruise does, but like, it blows me away that they don't, like, you have the answer. It's written right there for you. Transfer it to a script.
Yeah. Yep.
This guy is badass wall to wall. Like, just
do it. There's very little thought process that needs to go into this. Also, Tom Cruise is like the opposite of what I think Jack Reacher should look like. No, but just copy the books. You don't got to add commentary, dude.
Yeah. I'd point out that Lee Childs is a huge leftist wokester, so he's probably the one injecting a lot of that stuff into the
Well, the early books were not. I mean, the early books were pretty brutal, and even like his interactions with women, they weren't like 007, like those. I don't know if you read those novels either, but like some of those were like, ooh, okay, like, but they're still like he's.
I'd argue Lee Childs is a terrible author personally, but that's just me. Shags, do you think there's anything that the powers that be at the BBC or Doctor Who production company can do to course correct for season 2 in order to get it off the chopping block?
I mean, like I said, I'm not the best person to ask about Doctor Who. I don't know what. I mean, the only thing I could speak from just like an artistic standpoint is like, stories can be written in a way that can apply to both like political leanings or any sort of cultural like background. It's the beauty of art is it's in its interpretation. Like some people can look at it from a left-leaning perspective, people can look at it from a right-leaning perspective and say, oh, I see the message here, and it can kind of come together in the middle. Like when you write good stories, when you produce good art, anyone who looks at it can have their, like, that is the only way I think through. Like any show that's on the chopping block, especially this one that's beloved in the past, you can course correct by just writing a good story with characters that matter, who have heart, and that aren't trying to push some sort of political agenda.